It's time you stop making the past your future. There comes a moment in every healing journey where you realize the thing holding you back is not your lack of knowledge, not your brokenness, not your weaknesses, not your missing aha moment. It's that you keep dragging your past into your present and wondering why the future keeps looking the same. So essentially, it's time you stop making the past your future. Let's be real. If you wake up every morning with the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same internal dialogue, the same reactions to life, the same stories you tell yourself, then what exactly is changing? You're not just stuck in a pattern, right? You're addicted to a version of yourself that was built for survival, a version that's still trying to process what already happened. But healing isn't about endlessly revisiting what happened to you and putting yourself into the same miserable emotional fight or flight state. It's about deciding to stop reliving it. Because the second you relive it emotionally, you re enter it energetically as well. And that's the loop that keeps you stuck. Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks often about the exact mechanism behind why we get stuck, and it's not just theoretical, it's biological. I'll relay his message in a more primitive way for you to understand so that you don't have to deal with all of the scientific terms. It's very simple. He explains that every time we have an experience, whether it's big or small, pleasant or painful, our brain registers it as data. It gets processed through our senses, right? And from there, it becomes a thought. That thought that you have doesn't just exist in your mind like some abstract concept, like something unimportant. No, that thought then triggers a chemical cascade in your body, meaning that chemical cascade produces a very real emotional response to the thought. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's grief, maybe it's anger, maybe it's disappointment. Of course, it can also be positive, but we're talking about making the past your future in a negative way, right? Because that's what needs to change. Whatever it is, your body feels it. And in that moment, the brain and body are linking that thought and emotion together, wiring them into your system. And here's where it becomes powerful or dangerous and toxic, depending on what you do next. If you keep thinking about that moment, that story, that situation, that thought, right? The body doesn't know that the moment is over. The body is timeless. It only responds to what you think and feel on a repetitive note, on a repetitive basis. So every time you revisit that memory, either by choice or by trigger, you refire the same neurons, you re-release the same chemicals, and you recreate the same emotional state within you, the same feelings within you, over and over again, for as long as you're thinking about it, until eventually that emotional state becomes normal to you. It becomes what your nervous system expects, right? So you're stuck in it. It's what your hormones start adjusting to, what your identity wraps itself around. So now you're no longer just thinking about the past, you're living inside the frequency of the past. You've biologically and energetically conditioned yourself to exist inside a memory, as if it's your home, as if it's your present. And no matter how many affirmations you then tell yourself, or how many goals you list on a paper, or how you elaborate on what identity you want, if the feeling that lives in your body is still rooted in that old story, then that is the energy that you are emitting. That is the frequency you're holding. That's the energy your aura is broadcasting. And that's the instruction you're basically giving to the quantum field. That's what you're telling God you want your life to look like. This is how people live inside the past without realizing it. Not because they're obsessing over what happened intentionally, but because the emotion of what happened is still looping through their nervous system on autopilot. And every time that emotion gets re-triggered and you think about it again, you put yourself in a state again, your body produces the same energetic frequency as the original event did, even if the event happened 5, 10, 20 years ago. Do you see how crazy that is? Now think about this. If your thoughts are constantly referencing the past and your emotions are constantly reliving the past, then your energy, the very field from which you manifest, is stuck in the past as well. So even when you try to call in something new, your vibration is still hooked to something old. This is not because you're lazy and not doing enough or not hustling enough or don't have the right strategy and the right method and thinking enough good thoughts. No, it's because the emotional conditioning of your past became more familiar than the idea of your future. And biologically, very simply put, your system always defaults to what it knows, to what is familiar, right? And the final point he makes, which is the one that really changes lives, is that your thoughts plus your emotions equal your state of being. And your state of being is what creates your reality. So if your thoughts and emotions are shaped by memories of pain, rejection, betrayal, abandonment, or fear, then no matter how badly you want to move forward, your system will keep creating the experiences that reflect those same states. And I keep mentioning this in my videos over and over again. It's not because the universe or God is punishing you and chose you to be the one in a million, but because your energy is broadcasting a signal. And that signal, that frequency, is still tuned to the past. So you cannot create good by operating from the bad past. This is how the past becomes the future. Not because the world is against you and somehow you're cursed for life, but because you are mentally living in a place that no longer exists. You still keep choosing it. And you keep choosing the same thing, expecting new results to come from it. It's like reading the same book over and over again and expecting a different ending. That's insanity. So let me break it down. You wake up in the morning and immediately check your phone. You see messages you haven't answered, notifications that trigger a sense of urgency. You look at your to-do list and are shocked at how much you have to do. Memories that resurface old feelings. Your body is already reacting the minute you wake up. And then you move through your day thinking the same thoughts as yesterday. Why isn't this working? Why do they never see me? Why always me? Why can't I just get it right? Why does everything feel so heavy? Why is everything so difficult to me? Your brain starts firing signals based on what it knows, not what is possible. So it activates emotions within you that you've felt 1,000 times before already. Because again, it's familiar. Because those emotions feel familiar, your body interprets them as safe. Remember that. Even if they are the very emotions that are sabotaging your potential. And suddenly, you're not living today. You're rerunning a version of yesterday with slightly different details. Same core emotion, same belief system, same story, same chemistry in your brain, same chemicals in your blood, in your body, and then we call it a personality. We call it who we are, our truth. But it's not actually truth, it's your conditioning, it's programming, it's repetition. If you want to know what emotional state is dominating your life, you need to ask yourself, what am I feeling most familiar with? Even when nothing is wrong. That is your baseline. That's what your body returns to. That's what you're manifesting from. And let's be honest here, most people aren't addicted to their goals either. They're addicted to their trauma response, to their excuses. They're addicted to being right about their pain. They're addicted to their identity as someone who is still hurting, still waiting, still suffering, still recovering. Not because they actually want to suffer, but their nervous system hasn't learned what peace feels like without panic, what love feels like without fear, what success feels like without sabotage, what abundance looks like and feels like without suffering. It's not a lack of desire, it's just a lack of capacity within you. So, the truth that nobody seems to want to hear, if you don't do the work to release the emotional charge of the past, to release your past, simply put, you will keep creating futures that match your pain, not your potential. You will keep recreating the past in your future. Because again, your energy doesn't lie, your body doesn't lie. You can say all the affirmations, you can script your perfect day in your journal, you can repeat, I am worthy on a loop. You can do all the right things, even the deep techniques and methods of manifestation. But if your core frequency is still built on stories of being abandoned and betrayed and ignored and unseen and unsafe, that's the reality you will energetically recreate, even if consciously you want something else. Because manifestation doesn't respond to what you want. I said in the video of the science of your subconscious mind, I said the universe does not care about whether you're a good person or not, whether you have good intentions or not. It only responds to what you are a vibrational match to. And that match is determined by your dominant thoughts and dominant emotions. You don't attract what you think once in a while. You attract what you feel consistently. Okay, and that's why this video is a wake-up call. You cannot keep living as a memory and expect to become a vision. Right? That sounds a little corny, but you cannot keep fueling your system with emotions from 1, 5, 10, 20 years ago and expect your body to feel safe enough to move forward. You're still living in the past. You're still hanging on to past memories. That's not how embodiment works. You cannot embody the next level of yourself while embodying the grief of a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. So what's the way out? You have to stop identifying with the pain. You have to stop making labels and diagnoses your identity in general, whether that's anxiety, depression, ADHD, any illness, or any other kind of made up syndrome or a stupid syndrome. I've been there, I've done that, but you have to stop making yourself a victim to your circumstances. Nobody cares, quite honestly. You have to stop trauma bonding with people over your wounds. It feels good in the moment, but it's not sustainable long term. You have to stop telling the same story just because it's the only one you've memorized. It's the only one that you give meaning to. You need to teach your body what it feels like to live from a new state, a new default mode. And that happens through repetition and not information, through emotional rewiring and not intellectualizing yet another concept again. You need to feel it and not just think it. You have to believe it and not just think it. You need to visualize a new future and condition your nervous system to believe that it is safe, that it is possible, that it is real. Even when it doesn't feel real yet, right? Even when your environment still shows you the opposite, you have to keep feeling it, believing it. That's the work, that's the embodiment, that's the transformation. Because healing isn't just about letting go of the past, it's about building a body and identity that no longer needs to return to it for validation. And that requires discipline, emotional discipline, mental discipline, energetic discipline. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about being devoted to yourself. It's about showing up for your future self more than you show up for your wounded self. And you don't have to abandon her, but by loving her enough to say, we're done repeating this. We're safe now. I love you, but we're not doing that anymore. Whatever feels authentic to you, right? You don't have to say it like that. Whatever feels authentic to you. So today is the day that you make a decision. You either keep reliving the past or you start rehearsing the future. You either keep your pain on repeat or you choose to create something new. You either use this video as yet another intellectualized concept that you learned to use as an excuse or to use as an explanation for your behavior, or you finally choose to integrate that knowledge and live differently. You either stay loyal to the version of you that never got what she needed, or you become the version who gives it to herself. It's time you stop making the past your future, because if you don't, no one else can do it for you.